Great.
All right, okay, wonderful. Welcome to lunch. Welcome to LA2M. LA2M, formerly known as Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing. Now we're just LA2M who haven't had lunch in Ann Arbor. We're talking about marketing, but LA2M. So I'm up here with Derek Marabon, CEO of Indentity Digital Marketing. I'm up here with Stacy Collett from Dollar Bill Printing, the local digital print shop. And yeah, we're here, LA2M, my goodness. So I noticed there's some first timers. Can I see a show of hands? How many first timers are in the room? Okay, welcome folks. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I think you're in for a real treat today. We do meet almost every Wednesday, right? Except like next week because of Thanksgiving. People are doing things on the Wednesdays for Thanksgiving. But like almost every Wednesday we're here and we talk about different topics. We have great speakers. So feel free to come back. You can join our community on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn group that you should join. Also on Facebook, you can follow us at Facebook, LA2M, and then on Twitter. We're on Twitter as well. So you can check in on Foursquare. If anyone uses Foursquare, you can check right in at LA2M. So I suggest you do that today. Check in, and that's that. So the reason Stacy's up here, LA2M is a nonprofit. What that means, we are a 501c3 organization. We support marketing education. So we want to get it set up on our website. I got to do this, but we want to, so if you're a company that wants to donate, you can. You can donate to LA2M as a tax write-off. If you want to be a sponsor, you can be a sponsor. We'll talk about this month's sponsor in a moment. I'm sitting in the back with that last three words there. So if you want to do that, you can be a sponsor. It's $250 a month to sponsor. You really get a lot of exposure. Our newsletter goes out to over 1,700 people, and we also get some time at the events. Okay, and then we also pass the hat. So really it's free to come to LA2M, but any donations you give help us run the organization. So we have some hard costs and expenses to run it, and so that helps. So Stacy will pass the hat. We also have just something to give you a heads up. We have our holiday party coming up in December. I believe it's December 19th.
I think so, 18th.
Yeah, December 19th is going to be our holiday party. So that's going to be a really fun event. It's going to be here, so make sure you save the date. We'll talk about that in our next newsletter. December 19th will be the big holiday party. It's a good time to like bring the team out, bring some friends, and really kind of celebrate what we've accomplished this year at LA2M. Okay, so let's talk about our sponsors. So we got Bud Gibson from Search Engine Marketing in Eastern. Bud, you want to talk for a moment?
Yeah, I'm Bud Gibson, started the Search Engine Marketing program at Eastern. We're putting on our big event. We actually sponsored LA2M for our big event, the Search Marketing Workshop, on Friday. We've been sold out for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to try and push people to sign up. Instead, if you have signed up, and I know there's a lot of people in the room who have, come on down. It's going to be great tomorrow. We've got great speakers from Pure Michigan, Quicken Loans, Google, and the list goes on. We also have a number of students who will be there if you're interested in finding lower cost assistance with your search marketing and social networking needs. So I have to leave, so I want to, Brandon, I'm going to run out because I have to teach it. But don't think it's because of you. All right. So.
Sure. All right. Thanks, Bud. So Bud and his program sponsored the last 2 months, so that's great. Who's our sponsor next month, Mary Lou?
It's Create Your Tea.
Oh, Create My Tea or Create Your Tea? Create Your Tea. Creating someone's tea is going to sponsor you. You'll hear all about it. And we are open for January. So think about that. January is a big month for LA2M. It's $250 to sponsor that. Does anybody want to do that offhand? Anybody feeling inspired? So think about it, because it's a great opportunity to get your name out there to a lot of people.
We have a great lineup of speakers for January, so we're expecting really great attendance in January. So that will be a wonderful month to be able to give information about your business to the
Laura wants it?
That's sponsored.
All right, Laura Spencer, serve her. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. It's people like you that keep this organization running, really.
February?
What's that?
There you go. Someone wants February.
February. Okay, Leslie, thank you. Awesome.
Do we hear Mark?
Yeah, this is great. Because, I mean, we are all volunteer. Mary Lou does a lot of the heavy lifting, so she is an employee of the organization. But we do have hard costs to bring these programs and to do what we do. So, for example, so Roger films all these, and they all go up on the website, archive videos. It's a really great resource. We have Aaron O'Neill live tweeting, Carter's taking photos, so anyways, thank you for your support. So just to give you an idea of format, our speaker talks for about 30 minutes. There may be some time for Q&A. And then at 12:45, we do introductions, and you get to introduce yourself and talk briefly about your business. And then we finish at 1 o'clock. So you will be out of here at 1. We're pretty much on schedule. It's 12:06. So today's speaker comes all the way from the Detroit area, not that far, but we're lucky to have him. Brandon Chestnutt. He's done some amazing things in social media. He's been down at South by Southwest. He's done great things. He works with Indentity PR, which is a great social and PR agency, located in Bingham Farms, okay, which is right around that whole Southfield, Troy. We're a local area, you know, where all the cool people live. It's like Ann Arbor, but it's Bingham Farms. So anyways, Brandon's going to talk to us not about like just social media for everybody, but about social media kind of for internal social media. So I think that's a really interesting topic. It's a good approach, and we're excited to hear. So let's give Brandon Chestnutt a big round of applause. Welcome him. LA2M.
We turned the mic on so you can hear my shock.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah. And Carter will get your photos in that later. All right, thanks, Brandon. Good luck.
Thanks, Derek. It's great to be back at LA2M. I think 2 years ago, I gave a presentation talking about some work that my team was doing with Verizon Wireless. It was a pretty fun experience. So thanks again, Derek, and for having me back, and for Mary Lou for stalking me to make sure I got the right photo before she picked one for me. So again, thank you everyone for having me. My name is Brandon Chestnutt. I'm the Director of Social Media at Indentity. We're an integrated public relations firm. You hear the word integrated a lot, but we have 4 key disciplines: brand strategy, media relations, and marketing, creative, and then my team, social media. I manage a team of 6 people full-time in social media. We work with some of the big guys like Verizon Wireless, and we work with a lot of companies you've probably never heard of, in businesses that you didn't even know existed, but it's pretty interesting stuff. What I really wanted to talk about today is something I'm seeing a lot of, and I've been working a lot, spending a lot of my energy on over the past 18 months. And this idea of internal social media and energizing brand ambassadors. This is a little bit different of a talk than say, well, we need an internal social network, or what platforms you can have necessarily need to get employees to collaborate. There's plenty of research on this. A lot of what I want to talk about today is how do we get people on board with strategy, how do we equip them with the right tools, how do we provide oversight, and how do we control messaging. As more and more companies are getting into this space, or virtually every company is getting into this space, whether they like it or not, there's a huge disconnect, I think, between the external efforts and the internal efforts. You know, I like to think of it this way. You get to that point in your program, you work with clients, or you work with your client or your company, you got the strategy buy-in, leadership's all set, you've got some resources, you've got some dollars, whether it's a Facebook page, custom content community, whatever you're launching, and you flip the switch. And it's like this feeling of euphoria that you are now out to the world, you are in the social media space, and everything feels really warm and fuzzy. But then you say, all right, employees, go forth and preach the good word, and your beautiful light bulb looks terrible, because getting employees engaged is so hard. I mean, it's one of the toughest things you can have, and not just social media, anything. Any type of internal communications. I bet if you ask your company what's the biggest struggle we have, we don't communicate enough. Now you're trying to take this technology that everybody uses like outside the office and say, well, here's what our plan is, here's what our program looks like, this is how you can support us, or how you can kind of play in the wings and indirectly be part of it, and you're expecting them to just buy right in. It's really hard. It's not easy. How many of you are working with companies right now, managing their social media or prospecting? Well, question almost done. You got your hand up really quick. I hope everybody's involved. Working with companies in social media or talking to companies about social media, and they have at least 10 employees. At least 10 employees. Okay, how about 100? How about 1,000? Okay, 1,000, how about 10,000? Okay. So those of you who are on the high scale end, you're looking thousands of employees, some of this information is probably going to be real valuable to you. Those of you who are some smaller agencies or some smaller clients or work with smaller companies, you might see some opportunities to take away a few things here. And I want to be clear on that, because I think organizations of all types do have a lot of the same problems, but usually the resources and the technology and the platforms and the message required does vary depending on their size and scale. And sometimes there's some politics involved, and you know what I mean by that. So, one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons is when Bart falls in love with Reverend Lovejoy's daughter, and she is evil, but he compares her to a milk dud. It's sweet on the outside, but poison on the inside. And in many cases, social media programs can look like that, as weird as it sounds. They are sweet on the outside. They are shiny object syndrome. They look great, feel great. They do a lot of good for the brand. Sometimes it's directly related to e-commerce. It's producing sales. But inside, it is a mess. It is a mess because no one can clearly articulate what it is you're doing. Have you seen the Adobe Marketing Cloud commercials yet? Where the guy's like, how do you measure success in digital media? And every time he says something, he gets shocked because none of it's right. That's kind of how it is internally. Hopefully you've got to that point where people see value in it, but being able to spread what that value looks like internally, that's a tough sell. And that's what leads to the idea of this poison. So why do these internal programs fall short? There's really three things that I've seen from companies that causes this type of issue, that creates that poison to where external efforts are going well, but nobody's really buying it internally. The first is a lack of education. And it sounds simple. Oh, we don't know what the social media applications might be. We don't understand that they connect to the business. We don't see the value in it. We don't even understand the basics of it. Why are we on Twitter? Because all we do is talk about what we had for lunch. You know, everything that you've heard potentially related to social media. And I like to think that there's been some efficiencies in a lot of places where, another good question, how many of you have hosted like a social media 101 class with your company? You've gone in and said, hey everybody, we're going to talk about social media, or it could be Twitter 101, something like that. How many of you have done something like that, or either with a client or a company? More of you should probably start doing that to get everybody engaged. The issue here is that 4 or 5 years ago, that was okay, but now that stuff doesn't scale. It is hard to build a program around the idea of social media 101 and scale it, especially in a large organization. If you've got 10 or 100 people, you can probably get away with doing some regular meetings and sharing information, but if you've got thousands of people, it's very, very tough to do, especially looking at how frequently social networks update. From 2010 to now, there were 77 major updates, whether it was user interface related, user experience, mobile related, advertising, done on Facebook alone. So imagine you're responsible for giving these Facebook 101 courses, and all of a sudden you wake up the next day and everything's changed. And you know it has because we've all been there. Oh my gosh, we want to get rid of timeline, we want our newsfeed back, all these things. Now you have to go back and give that same Twitter 101 class. Or Facebook 101 class. That stuff would keep me up at night, wondering if the same class I gave 1 year ago is going to cause a problem because Facebook just updated everything. So this idea of simply giving these 101 courses in this type of format, it's not scalable, especially for large organizations. Another issue too is that strategy often takes a backseat to tactics. We get so ingrained in the idea of offering the Twitter 101, the Facebook 101, the LinkedIn 101. We spend very little of our time talking about why are we here, what are we doing, what is the purpose, what are we hoping to change with customers, with clients, with employees. We often play that stuff pretty close to the chest. We don't make that available to employees, and that's a huge issue because it doesn't help them understand how what they tweet and what they post on Facebook and what they could be doing on LinkedIn, the blog content they create, the slide share documents they upload, how it connects to the bigger picture. We're only focused on how to tweet, how to use a hashtag, and that's a huge obstacle in this space. The second thing is lack of participation. You create this Facebook page, you create this strategy, and say, all right, employees, everybody get engaged. And nobody wants to. Because it's either they don't have the time, they don't see the value in it, there are other things they need to do, they're so busy on their current job, maybe it's not that important for them. And there are probably some outliers that are really active in social media, that love this stuff, they want to be engaged. But the people that you really need to get in touch with, probably the ones that own the relationships, they have no desire to be involved. And in some cases, it is because there's a system that's in place. They're outside of this core program. There's if you're familiar with Altimeter's model, where they talk about different types of social media program structure, one of them is called a centralized structure, where there's one team, usually communications or PR or marketing, that owns social media, diffused out to the rest of the organization. There's also what's called like the honeycomb or hub and spoke style, where there's one group that's cross-functional that manages it and then multiple around it. That's common for big organizations or multinational or international organizations. The people are on the outside looking in. They're not part of the program. There's only a few people that are in charge of managing it, and they can't really see how they can be a part of it. They get an email that says, go out and share this piece of content, and they don't want to because there's no incentive, there's no drive, or it's just too hard. In many cases, information flows down really easily from the top. You are in charge of your social media strategy. You can blast out a post or an internal message to everyone saying, hey, we have this new blog post up, we did this, everybody go share it. And your chances of potentially getting some really strong response internally could vary. It may go well, it may go poorly. In a lot of other cases, information coming up is a huge issue. It is a broken system. So imagine you're at the top here, you're trying to relay information down, and you want to get stuff from the bottom up. It's very tough to capture that. There's no mechanism in place to get content from people at the lower levels. A good example of this might be is if you're working with an entity that has multiple retail locations, and you're responsible for giving each one of these retail locations, whether it's 5 or 500, a presence online. How do you capture all that information and let it bubble up to the top versus just pushing things down? It's a tough sell, and it's hard to have that in place without, or make that system work without processes. In other cases, the whole system is broken, to where you are managing a Facebook page on behalf of a brand, and nobody knows what you're doing. Nobody has any idea what you're posting, and then it just comes back around like, oh, we saw this on Facebook. Why didn't we know about this beforehand? We saw a blog post on this. There's no sharing of information, either from the top down, from the bottom up, from the side to side. There is no structure in place to actually manage that form of internal social media communications to give some clarity in terms of what's happening for the organization. The last piece is lack of accountability. I see this typically in companies that are a little bit more relaxed with social media, that every employee has access to it. Everybody can be on Facebook during work hours, or companies or individual divisions are empowered to have their own presence online. That's great that they can have those things, but nobody is there to hold them accountable. And trust me, they will run wild without accountability. They'll use the wrong brand standards, the wrong description of the company. You'll have people that are out there discussing their roles, and they're completely wrong. But they don't know any better. They have no idea. And it sometimes goes back to that educational element. It also comes down to having a police officer in place that can help control that element of the brand. And in reality, organizations should be providing a few specific things. They should be providing policies. And when I say policies, I'm talking about extension of legal documents. It could be IT use, it could be anything HR related. That's very cut and dry, very black and white. Not the gray social media policy stuff you see where everyone's like, don't say anything bad about us. Very, very clear in terms of what you're providing. Also, brand standards. If you're working with an organization that has multiple outlets, multiple areas where they're operating online, do they have the appropriate logo information, the appropriate description of the company? Do they have all the parts and pieces that are required to ensure consistency? And the last piece is guidelines. Now, guidelines are a bit more fluffy and fuzzy in terms of what they offer. That's like expectations. Hey, if you're going to be on Facebook, here's some things that we expect from you. Types of content you would post, the direction you should take, the types of customers we'd like to see you interacting with, and what happens when things go a certain way. And an example of this might be like compacting a social media policy you see from like Ford, which is very high level, talks about the different areas of content they discuss and what they want employees to do, and then a map in terms of how to respond to people, like what the U.S. Air Force does, how they were one of the first to make that response map available of how they deal with certain situations. Providing guidelines for employees in terms of what they should do and what is expected of them. So, that being said, all this mess in the world, how can you avoid the traps? How can you avoid these pitfalls and potentially create some positive change inside your organization or the clients that you work with? And I have a couple ideas that might help you combat this stuff. If this looks really familiar to you, these might be of value. First of all, create a permanent home for social media education. Don't make it these quarterly Twitter types of educational components. Don't make it a, I'm going to schedule this once a month to do it. Create a permanent home that houses the information related to social media, what your organization's doing, and what employees and individuals need to know. And more important, make it social. Don't make it a PowerPoint or a PDF. Create something that is engaging and creates a great learning platform. There's a company called Bloomfire. We've done a lot of work using their software. It's a great internal learning module system. And we wanted to find something like this because before my time at Indentity, I used to work for AT&T. And I worked for AT&T on both the B2B side and B2C side. And a lot of what I saw was every single week a new phone's coming out. You probably see that. Oh my gosh, there's a new Droid, there's a new this, there's a new that. And there's thousands and thousands of employees that are responsible for understanding how those devices work. It would be virtually, I would say virtually impossible. You need a lot of resources to be able to send somebody out to every single retail location, every single office with a device and show them how things work. So instead they created module-based training systems, right? It was able to log in, learn about a device, all the different features, have video walkthroughs, be able to ask questions and do all these things. That's what Bloomfire does, and there's lots of other services like that. So your Twitter 101 can now become virtual and can be accessed at any time. More importantly, if Twitter tomorrow says, hey, the only people that can be on Twitter, they have to have the first name Jeff, everybody else has to leave. You can update your system by pulling some stuff out and popping some stuff in without having to redo the entire presentation. And that's a huge, huge benefit, especially as new user interface elements get rolled out. LinkedIn's made some changes the past few weeks. New things with Facebook that might be of importance to people. If they've been asking questions about what are these new gifts now every time you see somebody with a birthday, that's the karma integration taking place. You're able just to create a short little video, short little blurb, and input it right inside the training module. And it's a lot easier than having to get in front of people for 5 minutes and say, oh, here's a new Facebook update, what you need to know, goodbye. They can access it on their own time. The second thing, create a mechanism that gets employees engaged and makes the sharing process so much easier. The idea of sending out an email telling everybody to tweet this, let's make that extinct. Let's change it. Let's change it completely. And there's a lot of great services that can help you do that to really help to catalyze your internal social media efforts and get people on the same page. There's a great local company here in Michigan called Ambassador. They use a lot of Facebook APIs, Twitter APIs, and what they do is they integrate people into like a content management system. People sign up to be ambassadors of a company. And when you have an update that wants to go out, they receive an email, and all they need to do is click a button and determine what networks they want to share it on, and it's automatically done for them. So instead of you having to email all your employees with a piece of content that they have to copy and paste and do all these things, they get one email and a couple button clicks, and it's already shared for them. Even better, you can see who's generating the most clicks from an employee perspective. So it adds a game layer to sharing content to see what people are doing. A lot of robust analytics. And for those of you working with Salesforce integration right here as well. So talk about getting employees on board with social media efforts and then being able to show some results inside Salesforce. That's a huge deal. And there's other services like Social Toaster. That's another one that uses a very similar setup. There's also another local company that's up and coming. It's a startup called LA2M. They're trying to add a game layer to the sales process. Not as much social media, but very similar. But it's worth checking out something like Ambassador. If you said, hey, I need to tell all my employees to share content, this is a great way of making it happen, especially those that are a little bit apprehensive or don't know what they're doing. Another piece of information is creating a social knowledge database. You have a place where people can go to access information, more than just training, but maybe it's stories or specific scenarios of where things might have happened. You see a lot of companies that deploy wikis, like Pfizer has a wiki, or a very specific website related to social media or built on a social platform. Socialcast is GM's preferred internal social network. I know they've talked a lot about how they've got employees engaged there. This is a custom social network. It's actually pretty cost efficient. You get 50 users for free. And if you need more than that, it's $5 per person with a minimum of 100 users. But imagine being able to build an internal social network. Not only can you discuss social media initiatives and efforts, you can even build things like a lot of team focuses like what Yammer might do. But it's just a great program to get people internally on board with what's happening and add a new layer of real-time communication. Another effort might be building some custom microsites. We have a client that has 11,000 employees and throughout North America. And they were doing zero with social media, and instead of investing in something like a social network, we built a custom microsite. And what employees can do is log onto this site, they can access their social media policy, they can understand as new networks are added, why the company is doing this and not that per network, as well as have a mechanism for submitting content. So any employee, any one of these 11,000 employees can log onto the site, add a photo, tell a story, submit up through to a specific team, and it's a very simple process. Now, instead of having like 4 or 5 storytellers for a blog, we have 11,000. And that changes the game in terms of the different types of things we can tell and the information we can share externally with certain audiences. And probably the most critical piece, the most important, and many of you might play this role right now, is you have to have like an accountability copy. If you're getting involved in social media, or you're there already, and your efforts are expanding, and employees are supposed to be your brand ambassadors, and they're out there doing certain things, you need someone that is in charge of holding them accountable, that can look at the information, can have conversations with them. Maybe it's not a disciplinary role, but it's an advisory role. Here's some things that you could do better. Because remember, everything they share and post to some degree does impact the brand. And if you focus on certain areas and say this is kind of our playground from a business standpoint, they need to know when they're playing nice and when they're not playing nice. And sometimes you might need to be a good cop or a bad cop. But without accountability, as I said, people run wild. It's like anything inside of an organization. Social media is no different. So, remember these 4 things. First of all, make education social. Twitter 101s, Facebook 101s, let's get rid of them. Let's focus on creating a permanent base for knowledge and making learning social. So as your company grows, it's easier to update this stuff and make it accessible. 2, participation should be easy. Don't make it hard. If you can make a simple investment to make employees sharing that much better, you're going to see a lot more results, and you're going to see a lot more engaged employees that are energized and behind what the brand is doing. And if you can show them some numbers in terms of who's getting the most clicks, you might, especially if you got salespeople, that's a huge ego boost. So consider that as a way to energize people and show them what social media can do for them. Create a knowledge base. If you don't have something in place that shows all your kind of social media plans and exactly what you're doing with what you're comfortable showcasing, that's an area where you can see a lot of opportunity. The more you can make available, since this is a very open social world, the better it will be. And the last piece is really focus on accountability. Bring somebody to the table that can help employees be held accountable for what they're doing and put them in a place where they know they're not necessarily being watched, but they'll get the right counsel and the right advice when necessary. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to questions. Anything anybody might have? I know we have to run. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I know we're running.
Thanks, Brandon. That was great. Questions?
Hey, Brandon. When you first started talking about brand ambassadors, and this was a couple of slides before SocialCast, I think some of the brands you were mentioning were cut off at the top of the screen, so we couldn't quite see those.
For ambassador, for...
So Bloomfire is one of them?
Bloomfire is the social learning platform. They are typically based on seats, so the cost is usually based on how many people have access to it. Great service. It's like having, it's kind of like having GoToMeeting, but everything's recorded and a lot easier place to access, and people can look at it anytime, ask questions, post content, do video walkthroughs, and it's all based in the browser. You don't need to go out and get like a screen capture software or anything like that. It's all done right through this platform. It's very cool, and I highly recommend it. The other one was Ambassador. That is the service that will pull Facebook and Twitter APIs, and people can sign up to share content on your behalf. A lot of their focus is on the consumer side of things, but there's a huge opportunity from an internal communication standpoint where you have an army of people from inside the organization sharing content. They're able to access things, they get it quickly, and it's very simple posting. We found that especially for more conservative companies, or they're, say, focusing more on LinkedIn or relationship-based selling, this is a great tool. Because everybody wants to talk about the company and stay in front of their prospects because like the sales cycle is a little longer. They need a mechanism to do that. This is a great system to have. And another option is called Social Toaster. And they're pretty relatively priced in terms of, and they do scale based on how big your organization is, but they're not a huge investment. And the last one was SocialCast. This is the internal social network. This is like a cloud-based or web-based network for your employees. So think of it like a little bit more than Yammer in terms of what it can provide. But a lot of the big brands like GM uses this, as I mentioned. And you can start from a social media perspective, but add teams, add layers, and do a lot more with it. The one thing about, like I said, with Ambassador, it's important is Salesforce integration. I know a lot of people use Salesforce, and they're wondering how metrics and ROI comes into play with social. Anything that integrates with Salesforce, and I think any major platform in the next year is going to have some element of Salesforce integration or any other piece that kind of ties to CRM. I saw some other hands. Sorry.
Hi, do you have any advice on how to encourage employees in your own company to start helping generate content?
That's a great question. So I've found that in many cases there are people that are already attracted to the idea of being involved in some form of marketing, social or otherwise, and individuals that have no interest in touching it. The first step is figuring out who's in which bucket. So there are people that are naturally gravitate towards marketing and love to be engaged in it. And if you can get those people involved, you get some clearance for them, that's a good start. The other thing too is if you don't have that ability where nobody wants to participate, you have to have a little bit of a very not tough conversation, but you need to have you have to add a lot of clarity what social media can do for their specific practice, for that specific person. An example might be is we've worked with one of the largest home mortgage companies in the country that competes against somebody like Quicken. And they have a number of loan officers and individuals that have relationships with realtors and all these different elements, all these different types of referral sources. And they wanted to see, well, okay, well, we're going to create content. What does this mean for me? I don't want to blog. I don't want to do anything. Well, we said, well, what if we could instead, you introduce us to the relationships. We'll help you. We'll assist with creating the content. We give your referral source a voice on our channel. You benefit because they're going to feel special, and hopefully they'll send you more business. Light bulb. They're not necessarily creating content, but they send us the bullet points and the information and the people to help us generate it easier. You know, it really comes down to how you message it and what the investment is. What I recommend not doing is just saying we need content. Everybody, tell us what your ideas are. Put some specific measurables and deliverables against it. One post, one specific site, and the more you can give them, the better. Word outline, bullet points, whatever you need to generate. In other cases, you might need to be the writer and they're the editor. They're the subject matter expert that gives you the bullet points and just makes it easier for you to craft it up and they kind of get the byline for it. It's not an easy process if people are apprehensive. Sometimes it takes a few successes to get there, but it can be done. It can be done.
Questions in the back?
A follow-up question.
You do a follow-up question, that one, people
Yeah.
first and then.
Yeah. A follow-up question.
Sure.
If you have a story, I'm interested if you have a story of an example of taking someone who's very fearful of social media but is willing to try it and successfully making the jump and becoming a champion for the process.
Okay, I got a great story about that. So, I worked with a company that has operations, 70 different locations throughout North America. And we started with them, they're in the automotive side of things. They had zero presence online, and whatever that was managed by them. Everything was fragmented or run by employees, and it was a mess. And I had to go to Chicago to pitch not only this company, but all their affiliated companies. They're part of this private equity umbrella. Anyway, long story short, we built the strategy, we got the buy-in. It required a lot of hand-holding. And when I say hand-holding, I'm talking like spoon-feeding a baby, like sitting in like a little high chair. Like, this is what it's going to do for you. This is the information you're able to create. It's been a year since we launched that program. And we've done a lot of great things. I mean, you know, they had a blog that came from nothing and is doing 50,000 visitors, you know, in probably 10 months. That they're generating a lot of interest in the media. They're doing a lot of things. There were some successes there. Now it's a question of why aren't we doing more with this stuff? You know, why we have this successful blog, this successful strategy. What else can we do? It also helps to have an ally that can kind of be separated but also part of the conversation. So on the agency side, it's beneficial because I can be part of the strategy, part of the program, but also be third party. But I need someone internally that gets it, that sees the value. It can kind of be the snake charmer that says, well, they're looking at it this way. Here's where not only this is effective, but it can also do this. And if you have to, you try to make it that person's idea, what they're supposed to do. And as weird as that sounds, sometimes that's how you get buy-in. And you really see some successes. Then they love to talk about it. They love to invest in it. And then the more you can tie it to a business objective, the better it will be. Because we've seen that, we've done it, and it bears a lot of fruit. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Okay, one last question.
Hi, so I was really gravitating towards your idea of creating the social media home for employees to access for social network updates and training. But I was wondering if you have any ideas for incentivizing employees to do that, especially the larger companies that may have thousands of employees.
So first of all, you need a budget to do that. I think employees can be incentivized. There are a lot of services that will track engagement, Ambassador being one of them. And Ambassador is actually designed to reward your best advocates. So they have actually a commission sharing model for the consumer side of things where the highest sharers, the people that spike the most interest based on the content that you posted, can be rewarded. You can send them a gift card, send them some type of investment. Where it kind of draws a line is, are we paying employees to get involved, and what happens if we stop paying them? So sometimes, instead of it being an individual basis in terms of how people are incentivized, maybe it's team-focused or location-focused in terms of who gets the incentive. And that's kind of how people are rewarded. I would say the most important thing is consistency and repetition. If you do it once, it's not enough. You have to do it continuously. So plan for a year, 18-month, 24-month engagement where you're able to do that and have the budget in place to kind of reinforce it. It's like, repetition beats reputation. Without it, all you're doing is throwing a bunch of dollars at it and kind of seeing what sticks. If you continually reinforce it, kind of like a puppy, hopefully they'll get engaged in it and want to stay a part of it. And find out what incentive works best, not only fits the company's culture, but it's something that employees would enjoy.
Thank you. Awesome. That was awesome. Thank you.
Turn it off. Don't turn it off.
I'll take that last question.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so this is the fun part. This is when we go around the room and introduce ourselves and ask if there's anything that anybody needs or you have a want. And we'll start right here with John.
Now that everybody's awake. Hi, I'm Joel Bergen with Community Prosperity Collaborative. We offer Dish Fish Dollars, which is an organization for a cost of $100, raise $500, and get their name out in front of 600 people. And if you have a business, you can get those socially conscious people that have bought these fundraising coupons, get your name in front of them, get them in your business. It's available at dishfish.com, so you can catch a deal and help them out. Thanks. So.
Hi, I'm Westford. I'm a paid scientist that decided to get in the market. I didn't like retirement. But anyway, I have an education company representing the marketing. So they're very good.
My name is Alex. I actually run my own website. It's a sports blog. I get about 150,000 visitors each month. I really just came here to learn more about social media and how to get a presence on the social media aspect. Yeah.
Which blog?
Oh, my site's called diamondsport.com. So, Diamond Sport. Thanks.
My name is Kelvin. I'm here with Shamir. He's our CMO, and we're with MyFab5. We're launching a site tomorrow that's going to revolutionize the way people find and share great restaurants. So if you're familiar with sites like Yelp, they use the 5-star rating system. We're kind of introducing something new where you talk about your favorites, ranking categories, so like my Fab 5 for pizza, name your favorite places. It helps people engage more with sharing that kind of information, and then also helps people find good restaurants in their area faster. So like I said, we're launching tomorrow, and we're just trying to understand what our social marketing campaigns need to be like, so we can take any advice that you guys have to offer.
Yeah, I'll just add, you log in myfab5.com. This is really, this is where we get to test the website, and any feedback would be welcome, good or bad. So yeah, let us know. Be in touch. Great.
Hi, I'm Samantha West. I'm part of the marketing team at Bank of Ann Arbor, and we're actually in the midst of a social media campaign sort of thing that we're doing in the month of November. It's called Thanksgiving. So we're trying to find people and nonprofits and organizations throughout the Ann Arbor community that are sort of the unsung heroes who are doing a lot of really good things around the community, and maybe they don't get enough recognition. We're just trying to do something special to thank those people and those companies throughout the month of November. So if you have any ideas or any suggestions, come see me or visit our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/bankofannarbor. Thanks.
I'm Stephanie Wilbur. I work with a company called Online Tech, who do hosting for healthcare, as well as people who are fully connected data, that kind of thing. Yeah, and this was actually a really great thing to be a part of, because our social media means, well, there's always room for improvement. So it's definitely nice to get a chance to learn a lot more about it.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm here the second time. The second time was as great as the first one. So currently I'm unemployed, and they love to come here and listen to some great talks. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Leslie Rivera, and with Let's Go Social Media Marketing and Training, I'd love to help you and your employees learn more about social media. Today I have an ask as well. It's Let's Go @gmail.com to contact me. And I also help out with the Peace Neighborhood Center. And our Thanksgiving dinner is this Thursday from 6 to 8. If you're interested, we still have available seats, and for the dinner we have salmon and Rose's ribs. If you've never had them, you should try them. Okay, and this is my son, so
So I'm Tom Bobney. I'm with Mobile Exhibit Specialist. I help people launch product displays. One of my clients happens to be Monster Energy Drink. We hand out samples at different events. So that's my company, and it's good to learn about information like this, because who knows what we load on the truck. So.
Hi, I'm Judy DeFort, Marketing Manager for the Betty Brigade. We do relocation, event planning, and organizing. And we're just here to explore social media ideas. Thank you.
I'm Wayne Aker. I'm a web developer specializing in Drupal websites. I'm also the next speaker at LA2M. So next week we're off for Thanksgiving, but the following week I'll be talking about rich snippets, which if you see on your Google search results page, you've surely seen like the 5-star ratings there on the page, or you've seen like someone's picture next to their blog post. We're going to be talking about those, how you can set those up, how you can get those for your site. And there's more than just those two. There's actually 7 or 8 different types of things. So I'll be giving an overview. It won't be technical. So I'll give you an overview of everything, and then give you links to the technical details so that you can send that on to them.
Hi, Wayne and Mark. I'm Laura Kirchner in Gen X Digital Marketing, and we help businesses reach their goals in the interactive space, marketing goals, and business goals. So community help with online advertising and marketing.
Hi, I'm Deb Nystrom, and I've done a couple presentations here at LA2M, and I haven't been here for a while. It's great to be back. My specialty, Deb Nystrom, is through Revelin Consulting, is change strategy. And one of my business partners is launching, he's finishing his PhD, and he's launching a website with 3 levels of change surveys. And it occurs to me that as people deal with change, it's very similar to people coping with social media. So some of your clients might be really interested in the free level of the survey, which is going to help him finish his PhD, and we have 2 other levels. And I'm very interested in mutually beneficial networking because I see a lot of abundance there. So talk to me, especially startup guys. Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Taylor Hollick. I'm the social media director at Regroup right around the corner. And I just wanted to say thank you for Brandon presenting. I was very excited to come today because he and I used to work together for a while, so good job.
I am Tammy Burgess with Women Making Connections, and I just wanted to invite you all to our networking event this evening. It's about the Old Boys Network. It's at Suburban Cadillac on Jackson Road. Starts at 5:30 and goes until 7:30. I know we're Women Making Connections, but I think I have about 10 men registered for the event tonight. So come and join us, everybody. Thanks.
I'm Roger Rayle. I would be there tonight, except I have a gig tonight that I need to tell everybody about. I'm going to be at a workshop, Web Adventure Workshops, webadventureworkshops.com. Laura Galloway, the Mom Biz Coach. She helps mom entrepreneurs manage successful businesses while successfully managing their families. And I know there was a lot of women here earlier, and it's too bad they all left before I got this announcement up. But the other thing is the Ignite Ann Arbor videos are up from a couple weeks ago that Dennis and I helped them.
I'm Dennis Kapinski. I do sales and marketing and help Roger Rayle with video engineers.
Hi, my name is John Berry. I run a small nonprofit here in Ann Arbor. We design new technologies for low-income people in developing countries. This is a very interesting talk for me because we have people in 40 different countries working with us. And so developing a strategy for making that work as a group is really, really important to us. We have a global giving campaign right now. It's to empower women in Guatemala and then further in the 40 different countries where we're working to, we're training women who have basic numeracy and literacy skills about solar power and then how to install solar. Then we're helping set up a women's solar power cooperative so they'll have jobs in the industry. And if you want to know more about it, talk to me after the talk here. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Erin O'Neill. I am a content producer at Indentity Digital Marketing as well as the LA2M Live Tweeter.
Hi, my name is Ginny Bromberg. I'm with Bromberg & Associates. We're a translation and interpretation company. And among the services that we provide, we also offer transcreation, where we work with advertising and marketing companies on not just translating the content that they have, but actually adapting it for the intended audience. So they don't have to encounter bloopers like with Chevy or Pepsi and many other favorite ones.
Hi, I'm Elena Kirilova. I'm an intern with Bromberg & Associates. It was a very interesting meeting, thank you. My first time here, and I'm a bit nervous. I'm just getting acquainted with American approach to social media, which is slightly different from Russian, and I'm in charge of social media. So like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Ford, and this is Brenda Colley. We're from Grit Design in Detroit. We just launched a new product called Sizzle Pig, and it is a completely new way to batch resize images. So everybody who does this is pretty familiar with scripts. This gets rid of the scripts so you don't have to sit there and wait for your results at the end to see what you get. You see everything on the fly before you process it, and then you get exactly what you wanted instead of having to wait till the end. So we came to find out a new way to help our employees become better advocates. And we'll want to talk to you guys and the change lead.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou, and I'm the one and only LA2M employee. Thanks to everyone for coming. It was a great talk, Brandon. Thanks for making the drive out from Bingham Farm.
No, so far I need to pack like 3 days of rations.
We're looking for a couple of volunteers. So if you'd like to be involved with LA2M, come see me. Okay. Thanks.
Carter Sherman from Pennsylvania and commercial editorial portrait photographer.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Stacy with Dollarville, your local digital print shop. I was going to introduce Wayne, but he did such a great job himself. Now I don't have to look at my phone and do that. Thank you, Wayne. So everybody knows we're off next week. We're back the following, and then watch for your newsletter because we just finalized all the Christmas party plans, and I expect y'all to be there because it's all the good jelly beans and desserts and mingling. It'll be all decorated for the holiday. So I hope to see you all then, and we won't see you next week. And we're done really early because I was watching my watch, and my watch is dead. So Carter just told me that it's really early. So if anybody ever had another question, we have 10 minutes. Does anybody have anything?
Did you already come out?
I'm tuned out. No, I'm kidding. Go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I was just, the programs that you talked about are softwares that, I'm familiar with ones that companies would use to manage their social, outgoing to the public at different layers, but these sound like they're just more internal. And I'm wondering, are there ones that would do both? Like for instance, like Adobe Social, is there a good layer for something like this, or Buddy Media?
Well, knowing how Adobe's marketing suite's working, they could acquire something in the near future that would focus entirely on internal. I mean, you're looking at, Rating 6, Buddy Media, they probably have, well, Rating 6 does, but Buddy Media might have some type of platform that does this, but not as well. If I'm going to invest in something, I'm going to use something that I know is going to work and probably the best. And that's the issue with any one of these platforms, is you're going to spend a lot of money on a lot of different things that all kind of do the same thing, but they do one thing extremely well. I mean, we are using Seasamos for monitoring, we're using Sprout Social for community analytics, we're using Social Engage for publishing, and they all kind of do the same thing, but all a little bit differently. I don't know of one that does both internal and external well. I do know that I believe Boomfire has a capability to do, like, say, public-facing stuff, so you can have a public site versus just like something on a network or password protected or user logins. But that, to my knowledge, I don't know of one that does both. But you never know. I mean, there could be something out there right now that does a little bit of everything. Yeah.
So it's part of the point of internal social media to leverage the fact that your employees have social connections outside the company so that you get the word out to them, they put it on Facebook, etc., and it goes out. So it kind of blurs the line between internal and external, at least for marketing stuff, right?
Well, I mean, if you look at one of the biggest challenges is that marketing has so much focus on getting the message out when they control it. But if we look at what makes a lot of programs work, we need to get in front of the people that own the relationships. Marketing, if you're, say, a sales organization or you're B2B, marketing doesn't own the relationships with the customers. Your sales guys do, or your relationship managers do. So it's kind of does blur the line between both. Marketing's job is to get everybody internally on the same page and understanding how the program works so they can go out and spread the good word. They're still in charge of creating the content, doing the external focused initiatives, but they need a delivery mechanism. The delivery mechanism is the employees. On the more consumer side, I know it's a little bit different because people can be purchasing whatever they like, but there's still an added benefit for customer service, for the relationship management side of things, for IT. They should all be on the same page. I mean, this is the most powerful word-of-mouth engine in the world. Everyone at every level, to some degree, should at least be exposed to it. Whether or not they're allowed to go out and speak on behalf of the brand or they have a lot of power, at least we can get them educated. Hopefully they'll be in a better place. But you're going to see more of that blurring happening, where what we're doing internally is going out externally. I don't know if it's better with that girl. Go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to know more about social cast because I think you have to pay in order to play around in there. So what is the difference between that and Yammer? Because I use Yammer, but social cast you said it's better than Yammer. In what way?
So Social Cast is freemium. So there's a free version and a paid version that scales based on the number of users. Social Cast, it operates a bit more like a social network versus just a stream of thought. Yammer is like that ongoing stream of information, and it can kind of get out of control depending on how big you make it or how many groups are involved. I've also seen some companies that they don't love Yammer as much if they're a bit more protective of data. And they do offer like a kind of like white label version that you can install and be protective of it. I think Social Cast resembles more something like a naming network. It has more of that social networking feel versus like a messaging service. I think Yammer really excels as a messaging service. Social Cast is a bit more like knowledge finding and kind of internal collaboration tools. I mean, they could be very similar. Yeah, you might need to experiment and determine what you like and what you don't like. I know some people that absolutely despise Yammer and they want an alternative, and we've tried using it even in our own agency and mixed results. Yes.
Yeah, question for you. Some folks are either pretty crude in their social media or politically incorrect.
True.
What if a company decides that there's some employees that they don't want as a brand ambassador because they don't think it's a good reflection on their brand?
Well, you've seen a lot of that right now. Obviously, there was the whole thing with Cold Stone Creamery firing one of their employees for making those comments about the president. I mean, I don't think they went in there that day to say, well, hey, this employee is a brand ambassador. Let's correct them. I mean, it really comes down to comfortability and kind of understanding the temperature of the organization. So I think it's a very slow creep. It's not usually a rollout like Zappos is, where there's like a public university and everyone has the opportunity to go through it. So there's a proactive approach and a very reactive approach. The proactive approach is figuring out the right teams and the right individuals that have enough pull, relationships, and connection to business goals that can be armed with this equipment. The reactive side is monitoring everybody else to see what they're doing and whether or not it falls in line with guidelines, policy, and brand standards. Again, those three things are very key because if you don't have them in place, you're going to be kind of in that scenario of, well, this just happened, and while we can't predict everything, now we have to react to it, and we've done zero to educate employees on it. One thing that might be worth checking out is the National Labor Relations Board has ruled on a few cases and published them in terms of when they said that the employee was right, in terms of what they offered on social media, and when the brand was right in terms of how they dealt with the employee. These are public reports, there's two versions. And those would be worth working out. You can say, well, what if we're in this scenario where X happens? How are we protected? And sometimes the brand protected themselves inadvertently in some way, shape, or form. They're really interesting to read, and that's the area right now that's up for debate, is legal and who owns what and what can you say and what you can't say. So those would be worth checking out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it's 1 o'clock, so thank you for coming to LA2M. Have a good 2 weeks, and we'll see you that following Wednesday. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Bye.